To many of us, the concept of God or Jesus is something that is distant from us and may even be inaccessible. Most people don't own the reality that God is with us all the time and that Jesus is walking with us in everything that we think, say, and do, and everywhere we go. Not in a generic way, but in a very real and personal way. But what does this actually mean, and how does it apply in my own life? The passage in the book of Luke where two of Jesus' disciples were walking to Emmaus on the evening after his resurrection comes immediately to mind. The disciples were discussing the things that had occurred, and it happened that while they were speculating and questioning within themselves, Jesus himself, drawing near, traveled with them. Jesus then said to them, "What are these words which you are discussing with one another as you walk and are sad?" Here's Jesus, as always, concerned about their sadness as he is about our own, as he is about everything we feel or think. Every one of us is traveling with Jesus through every aspect of our lives. Everything we think or do is done in his presence. Every thought we have is in his mind, and thus we are either advancing or not on our own path to eternity, depending upon whether we are exercising our faith or just being carried along in the current of life through the many ups and downs with nothing to hold on to and a feeling that we are drowning. In the case of the gospel passage I just described, the disciples were clearly instructed by Jesus, and after being with him and listening to him for some time, they invited him to stay with them that night because their faith had been reignited and their hearts burned within as Jesus spoke. It was in the breaking of the bread that their eyes were opened, and they recognized that it was actually Jesus who had been with them all along. Jesus instructed them, and they listened closely. In this, Jesus allowed them to exercise their faith, which is why he did not allow them to recognize him from the beginning. Faith is God's gift to us. Our exercise of that faith is our gift to God. We are each called to use the gift of faith that God has given all of us in order to first recognize Jesus and then to use other gifts and graces that God has given us to fulfill the most important commandments, loving God with all of our minds, hearts, and strength, and loving others as we love ourselves. How do I get there, though? Many of us are so busy in our lives that from the time we get up in the morning until the time we drop into our beds at night completely exhausted, we do not set aside even a little time to contemplate the most important things. We do not allow ourselves the time we need in contemplation to talk to Jesus about our lives, ourselves, our families, our struggles and fears, our joys, and on and on. It is when we come to realize that Jesus is walking with us that the conversation develops and materializes, spurring our faith. Unfortunately for many of us, that time comes only when there is a tragedy in our lives. For those that have already recognized Jesus walking with them, tragedies are one more cross of suffering to offer to Jesus in union with his own suffering. Try something next time you're in the car. Turn off the radio and talk to Jesus about your day, your fears, joys, or just thoughts. Begin that conversation and you will soon find that he is answering you and helping your faith. Take advantage of the graces found in the Mass and the sacraments. Set aside 15 minutes to visit Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament in the quiet of an adoration chapel. And before long you will find yourself saying to him, "Remain with me because it is the end of the day, and I want to hear more of what you have to tell me."